Hey guys, welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. I'm Brian, Mr. Smith Kitchen. Today I thought we'd bake a blueberry cake, a really nice blueberry cake. Well, it's something I've been working on now for a minute. I'm kind of, sort of creating my own blueberry cake. And I've already made one run with it, and it turned out okay. But I'm going to add we're going to add a few things to it today and see how it turns out. But we're experimenting. Is basically what we're doing today. I'm trying to take one form of a cake, which was my blueberry pound cake in a bundt pan, and turn it into a 2-layer 9-inch cake with a lemon glaze icing, all in the attempt to eventually make a 3-layer blueberry cake with a blueberry cheesecake in the middle, which I think will be amazing. So instead of icing in the middle, it'll just be an entire cheesecake. And we're going to make that together as soon as I figure out this blueberry cake thing, which I think I've got it licked. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad you came. Glad you stopped by. Hope you get something out of this video, or any of my videos for that matter. We pretty much do all things food around here. Occasionally you'll see the family, my youngest Abby, my middle daughter Sarah, and my wife Chris. We also have 2 other kids who are out in the adult world doing the adult thing. Taylor and Brian, which they're never around. They live in different cities, though, to be, fair to them. And but we do some canning, we do some cooking, some baking, some preserving, gardening, woodworking. And the woodworking actually has stuff to do with food because I make kitchen stuff. All while having a family and a full-time job. So that being said, if you're returning to my channel, thank you. You're a glutton for punishment, but I love you all the same for it. And yeah, I'm glad to see you guys are doing it, helping me do this. I'd like to welcome my new subscribers. So we've got a couple of new subscribers. That means our community is growing. That's amazing and awesome. And if you would be so kind, right down here, I think it's on this side, hit the subscribe box. And if you'd like, notification bells right next to that. It'll let you know when my videos come out, and I never take for granted the time you guys spend with me. I know time is valuable, and there's always something to do. Thumbs up, thumbs down. They're good. I never used to preach about them, but it does help grow our channel. It puts views and likes and dislikes, puts us in other people's feeds, and it kind of gives me feedback as to what's going on. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it. The video I put out, comments are great. They also let me know what's going on, what's happening, and what you guys are thinking. All I ask is you be polite. So you don't have to agree, just be polite when you don't agree. That being said, let's run outside real quick and take a look at the garden, and then we'll come back in here and do some baking. All right, hold on for me 1 second. Okay guys, so here we are out in the beginnings of the garden at any rate. Remember, we just moved in here, and gardens take time to grow and develop. But right here is our tomatoes, and there is, I don't know, 14 plants in there maybe, and they're put in at the space they're supposed to be, and they're all Roma tomatoes this year, which is what we usually use for our salsas and tomato sauce and stuff like that. And then over here in this box with the ivy growing up it quickly, those are actually from last year. I don't know if you can see them, the sun's kind of bright, but that is thyme that is growing back, rosemary that's growing back, and then I've got some dill growing back. Down below there is just some onions that I put in to see how they would do, and they seem to be sprouting up rather nicely. I've got red onions in the back, white onions there, yellow onions here, and then over here in these boxes, these are actually a science experiment gone horribly wrong. No, Abby had put some beans in a bag at school with a wet paper towel, and they sprouted. I transplanted them into here, and then I do believe I have some rabbit friends. Well, I know I have some rabbit friends that came along and ate the tops off of them, all except for that one. So, but that's okay because we're not necessarily going to use this for beans anyhow. And then over here we've got These are green peppers, red peppers, and yellow peppers. Some more aroma tomatoes. Those are, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I'll put a line down below, but they're a tomato. They're a green tomato. You make green sauce out of them, along with the flowering ones back there. Tomatillos, I think is what they're called. I don't know. If I'm wrong, I'll put it down in the description. And then those are jalapeno plants. And then what I'm going to do, if you can, let me back up here so you can see a little, is the rest of this garden, I'm going to put another box there and another box right there before the slope. And we're going to do some green beans, and we're going to do some potatoes and onions. And then after the slope there in the corner is going to be blackberry bushes. Yeah, we're going to do blackberry bushes back there. And then behind these, well, actually connecting each box, we're going to do, we'll have a spot for some lettuces. Yeah, and then whatever else I decide to grow. Chris wants to put some strawberries out here, so they'll probably go back down there where the blackberries are going to go, and we'll put them in a tub. I don't know if you've ever grown strawberries personally, but they can very easily get out of control into your yard and cause you to have a giant yard full of wild strawberries, because they do go wild. All that along that old tree stump there is pretty much wild strawberries, where somebody let them grow wild on top of all the clover that's in my yard. We'll work on that too. With us buying the house, we got plenty of time to fix things. All right, well, let's head back inside and we'll start baking a cake. All right, be back in a second. Okay, so now that we're back in the house, got the formalities out of the way, so to speak. Yeah, and like I said, garden's growing. Yeah, you got to start somewhere. That's where we're starting. That's still triple what we had last year. So anyhow, cake. Let me get you down here on the counter as always, and we'll talk about what you need and some of the things you'll need, and go over some ingredients and all that. And as always, I'll give you ingredients in cups, tablespoons, teaspoons, and we'll also give them to you in grams. That way you can be accurate with a scale. Scale goes wild, crowd goes wild. All right, there is that. Take a drink. So, first thing we're going to need to do, we're going to turn our oven on 325. That's where we're going to bake it at. So we got it up and going. Next thing we'll want to do, we're going to want flour. We're going to butter and flour some 9-inch pans. All right, we're going to need 2 9-inch cake pans. And underneath all that flour, I also have a piece of parchment paper. That way I'm doubly sure nothing's going to stick. 9 inches of parchment paper around, 9-inch pan, butter, flour, good. All right, we did that twice. Now, we're going to start with the dry mix. All right, and I've got 3 cups, 360 grams of all-purpose flour. All right, and I sifted this through. You know, just help loosen it up, get it separated. You know, kind of get it moving. To this, even though it got mixed together because I had it in the same container, I don't know if you can see that, I have got a half a teaspoon, 2 grams of salt right there, and I've got 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of baking powder right there. It looked much neater before it got knocked. We're just going to throw that in here like such, and we'll grab a whisk. And we're just going to whisk that all together, like such. And then we're going to set it to the side. Look at that. Easy. This actually is a fairly easy cake to do. Oh, I forgot something. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I just realized I never got my cup of yogurt. We need a cup of yogurt for this. So, things you will need: scale. As far as that goes, we got our dry mix done, but scale is so useful. That's the important thing. And a couple of bowls, minimum. Now, we're going to move on to the wet ingredients, and for this I'm going to use my stand mixer. You can use a hand mixer. You know, as far as that goes, you could possibly use a whisk if you have the arm strength and the inclination to do so. But I have a stand mixer, so I'm going to use it. But like I said, you could easily do this with a hand mixer and another bowl. So we need at least one bowl for dry, one bowl for wet, if we're not using a stand mixer. And if you are, you're still going to need a bowl. All right, so in this bowl, first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 1 cup, 226 grams, 2 sticks of softened butter. We've let it sit out room temperature all day, and it's soft. And we're going to just cream this up real quick, all right? All right, creamed up, ready to go, because it was really, really warm, so it took all of like 3 seconds. To that, we are going to add our sugar, which is 1 3/4 cup of just plain old granulated sugar, 350 grams. We'll add this in, just like such, and we're gonna mix this. Now we're gonna mix it till, and I say this a dozen times, till it's light and fluffy. I don't know. I get the light part; it'll look really nice and white and creamy, but fluffy, yeah, sort of. You'll see, but. About 5 minutes on medium high. So if you're using the stand mixer, 4 to 6 on the number scale, or medium high, depending on how your mixer's set up. So go ahead and get that started, and then we'll move on to the next step after we get this mixed. All right, so we got our sugar and our butter mixed well and nice and fluffy. I'll show you here real quick what I mean by light and fluffy. As it goes from like looking like just flat cream butter to almost like a Cool Whip with the consistency of, well, whip topping, not necessarily Cool Whip, but to like a mashed potato, because it's still dense, but that's what you're looking for. That's what your sugar and butter should resemble. It's right about like that. And we get that, and then in between, about every couple minutes, I went through and I scraped the sides of my bowl. You can't scrape often enough, really. You want to ensure that everything is getting mixed up in there. So, I mean, I stopped a couple times during that 5 minutes and gave it a good once over, scraping it up. And then the next thing we want to do, as soon as I get done fussing with this, is we're going to go ahead and add our 1 cup, 260 grams of yogurt. Now, you can use plain yogurt. I am using vanilla yogurt. I like the vanilla flavor, and so when we make cakes here, we use vanilla. The only way that varies, it will depend if we're on the cake, but most of our cakes that require yogurt or whatever, cookies, breads, things like that, dessert breads, I use a vanilla yogurt. I really enjoy the vanilla flavor, so does everybody else in the house. And we're also going to add 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of vanilla. We're going to put that in there. And we're just going to mix until it's combined. So that way, we're not whipping it hard or anything like that. We just want to get it combined. Okay, got that combined. Give it a quick stir around there. Make sure we're in good shape. Like such. And to this, now your yogurt should be at room temperature. I know I didn't say that, but your yogurt should be close to room temperature. Now I've got 4 large eggs, about 200 grams. They're eggs. They're going to vary a little. And we're going to add these in one at a time and just mix them in. And as you add it in, you want to get it to where you don't see any more yolk before you add in the next one. All right, got the last egg in there. Wait till you don't see any more yellow. We are good. Bam. And we got it mixed. We'll give it one more good stir. Make sure we got it all. Like I said, you can't stir and scrape enough. You want to make sure you got it everywhere. Looking good there. That. Alright, so the next thing we gotta do is add our dry ingredients in. We're gonna do that in 2 stages. So we're gonna put half of it in, mix that in, and then we'll put the other half in. Go ahead and get about the first half in there. I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly half, but I mean, at least close. You can eyeball it. It's not anything of grave importance. But you want to do it in halves. You don't want to put it in all at once, then you'll overmix. So we'll go ahead and get this. You always want to start on low, no matter what. If you don't, you will end up with a face full of flour. Okay, we got our both parts of our flour in there. Go ahead and get this out because we're pretty much done with the mixer. This scraped off pretty good here. And we're going to give it, once again, take care of the sides, give it a good mix. Make sure we got everything nice and evenly incorporated in there. Yeah. Now, when you're doing your flour, your eggs, yogurt, and vanilla, you just want them to be incorporated. You want to make sure you don't see them anymore, so to speak. Unlike the butter and the sugar, where we whipped it for a long time, got some air in there. All right, so now, the last ingredient is 2 cups of blueberries. So let's talk about blueberries for a second. The original pound cake recipe said fresh blueberries, and you can use fresh blueberries in this, of course. But I'm not. I'm using frozen. The key to using frozen fruits in any baked dish is to make sure they are completely thawed and drained as best as possible. The reason why some recipes steer away from using frozen, I'll show you, is because see how that's turning purple? I don't know if you can see it very well or not. But your batter, especially if they're not completely thawed, can turn purple or whatever color of the fruit you're using. And you know what? It doesn't affect the flavor one bit. And as a matter of fact, it adds a level of coolness. Now, I have found, like, now I can see a little bit of purple haze in my batter, but I have yet to actually see any of my pound cakes or the other 9-inch round cakes that I made actually be purple or blue in this case. So as long as you make sure they're completely thawed, you know, and there's not a ton of juice with your frozen berries that you're putting in, you'll be fine. You can use frozen whatever berry it is you're using to make whatever pie or cake it is you're using or making. Not that big a deal. I promise. Just make sure that they're thawed. Alright, so now I gotta figure out how much batter I have in here so I know how much to put in each of these. You can eyeball it in halves, but if you have a scale, use your scale. That way you know exactly what you have. And I have, let's see, be 800 off that, so it'd be 1,668 grams. And that cut in half would be 834. So I can put 834 grams in each of these. It should be okay. So let me go ahead and get these split up, and then we'll talk about what to do next. Alright, we got them weighed out, separated. So now what we have to do is smooth these out, just like such. I already got the other one done. And you want them smoothed out so they bake evenly. And it helps to not completely prevent, but eliminate. All cakes seem to dome. And what this does, by making sure they're smooth and even, it makes sure we don't have any unnecessary air pockets in it, and it can help it to not dome at all or not dome as high, in my opinion. Alright. At least that's what I'm finding out in my baking life. But
I still have had plenty of cakes that have domed. And that's okay. There's a way to fix that too, obviously. But all right, we got that spread out nice and even, I think. And if you don't have an offset knife or spatula to spread these even with, it's okay. You can use the back of a spoon. You can use a knife. There's just a million and one options for things you can spread this with. You can even use your rubber spatula for that matter. All right, got that there. And don't eat the cake batter, as I'm obligated to tell you. There is raw egg in it. Raw egg contains salmonella, and salmonella can make you sick and or potentially kill you. So, what are we going to do with these now? I'll tell you what we're going to do with them now. Because you asked. I'm going to put these in the oven, and when I put them in the oven, I'll put them in side by side, just like this, and I'm going to leave a gap in between them. That way the air circulates around them. Even if you don't have a convection oven, heat rises, which causes natural circulation, and you want it to get in between there so it's even. I am going to bake these at the 325 we got our oven preset at for about 25 to 30 minutes. And then I will check them. Now, this is my second time making these, but the recipe is a little different. I'm tweaking it. I'm trying to make my very own cake, blueberry cake, one that I can say that I made myself. So I'm going to say 25 to 30 minutes. I'm going to start checking them at 25, and it may take as long as 35. So when I come back, I'll let you know what the time was. Halfway through that initial 30 minutes, I'm going to take the pans and I'm going to rotate them 180 degrees, and I'm going to switch them. That way I ensure even baking all the way around. All right, so when I come back, we'll take a look at them and talk about what we're going to do with these cakes next. All right, see you in 1 second. Okay, so I'm back. Did you miss me? I missed you. It's been a long time. Matter of seconds. In your case, a half a millisecond. But my 30 minutes turned into 45. And I used a toothpick test. Here, let me get you down here. So that way we can see what I'm talking about. Right there we go. Do I take the temperature? All right, hold on. So, if I press on them, they bounce back. Put a toothpick in them, they come out clean. All right, I did that with both of them. And then, I don't know if you heard Chris or not, but she wants me to take a temperature. So, let me get a thermometer real quick. And we'll get a reading on them. And we should be right about 195. On that one. Yep, and 196 on that one. So we're in good shape all the way around. Now I got a bunch of holes in my cakes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these sit for about 10 minutes and cool off. And then I'll come back, we'll flip them out, and then we can let them cool to room temperature. All right, I'll be right back. So we let them sit for about 10 minutes or so. Now I'm just going to take my, if you can see, I haven't gone all the way around it yet. But you can see that it's already started to separate, but I just want to ensure it's completely separated from it. So I'll run my spatula around them real quick. Just like such. It's a little falling apart on the edges. Is that a word? Falling apart. And then we'll take our plate, put it on there, flip it over, and it slid right out. I felt it slide as soon as I flipped it. Pull that out like such. Not bad. Came out fairly clean. Go ahead and get our paper off of there. Then I'm just going to slide this right on to the grate, just like such. And then we'll do the exact same thing with this one, and then I'm just going to let them cool down to room temperature. Should take about a half hour, 45 minutes or so, I'd imagine. But once they get down to room temperature, we'll go ahead and make our icing and make us a cake. All right, I'll be back here in just a few seconds. All right, so while we're letting those cool, we're gonna go ahead and make our cream cheese filling, our cream cheese icing, lemon cream cheese icing, which I think you'll find amazingly good. And we're gonna start with an 8-ounce block of cream cheese and 1 stick of butter, or a half a cup of butter. Let me get the beater out of the way there. And you want those both at room temperature. Just let them set out. Maybe about an hour. With cream cheese, you want that to set out because if you don't, it won't beat completely smooth, and you'll have little lumps all through your cream or all through your icing. You don't want cream cheese lumps in your icing. Do what, honey?
I do.
Oh. So we'll go ahead and we're just going to cream these, get them nice and smooth. All right, we got that smoothed out, or creamed, as they say in the baking world. At any rate, they no longer look like sticks. So to this, it's only got 2 more ingredients. It's really easy, but we're going to do some alternating, just like we do with flour or our dry mix and our buttermilk or whatever when we make some cakes. So I've got 5 cups or 650 grams of powdered sugar or confection sugar, icing sugar, however you want to call it, but powdered sugar. And we'll alternate between that and a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, which is 69 milliliters. Yes, 69 milliliters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little over a cup of powdered sugar in there, like such. And then I'll just mix this into the butter and cream cheese. And you want to start on slow, or you're going to end up with a kitchen full of powdered sugar. And once we get this incorporated, we're going to add a little bit of lemon juice to it. Alright, put it back down there on low. Add about just a tablespoon or 2 of our lemon juice. Then we'll shut her down, give her a scrape. Yeah. Put that back on there. Add some more of our powdered sugar, and we're just going to repeat this. We'll add some powdered sugar, then some lemon juice. We just want to make sure we end on powdered sugar. I've said this a dozen times. I don't know exactly why you end on a dry good versus the wet, but that's what the professionals say, so that's what we do. All right, we got that mixed up. We're looking good. Get that off there. Nice and smooth. This is probably one of our favorite icings, bar none. We like cream cheese icings anyway, but in our house. But the lemon one is just, it's good. Hands down, it complements the blueberries so nicely. I don't know if you'd want to use it with like strawberries, but for that you'd maybe use a vanilla type cream cheese frosting, or something to that effect. Alright, got that good. I'll show you what we created. Right there we are. Now, let's say you don't think you think it's a little too thick. What can you do to thin this out? Well, in this case, you could add more lemon juice, but I don't know if, it would definitely increase the tartness, but you could. Or you could just add a little water, like a tablespoon at a time at most. And then that way, it'll thin it out just a little bit at a time, and you can get it to a consistency you like. Oh, that's perfect. Now, another option to this, and I didn't do it because I don't have it, is to put some lemon zest in it, which is just simply the yellow part of a lemon. You use a microplane to take it off of the lemon with, like we've done in previous videos, and put a tablespoon's worth in here. You don't have to do that. It just adds a little more lemon flavor, but with the sweetness of the zest. Believe it or not, a lemon has sweetness, and it's in that zest. You know, you don't want to get down into the white part below the yellow because that's where all the sour is. So, let me get this straightened up, and we'll get the cakes over here, and we'll start icing. All right, be right back. Okay, so we got our cakes sitting here. Now it's time to ice. So we'll go ahead, and they are completely cooled. They took about a half hour. And we're going to put about a half, 3/4 a cup of icing right there on the top of the first one. And then we're just going to smooth it out to the edge. Get us a nice even layer to go in between. And how thick you want it, how thin you want it, is completely up to you. This amount of icing here will easily do this cake and a little leftover, which is fine. You know, you can cream cheese icing and buttercream icing. You can refrigerate them for about a week or two. You know, so like put some on like a muffin you make later in the week or whatever. But or you can freeze it. You know, and freezing it, it'll last you at least a month. You know, buttercream icings will last you a couple months. And if you don't get it all the way to the edge, that's okay, because we're going to ice the entire thing, the sides included. Now, if we weren't going to include the sides, you'd want to take it all the way up to the edge. But we're going to do the sides and the top and do it all. So, yeah, we don't have to worry so much about that. So we'll stick that on there with. Then we'll take our other one, and I'm going to actually flip this over and put it down on there, just like such. Got a nice even gig there. We'll go ahead and get the top. About the same amount. You don't need to, you know, I guess like I said, it'll depend on how much icing you like. I go 3/4 of a cup, half a cup, and put it on there. Okay, so we got it on the top, just like that. Now I'm going to show you a neat little trick you can do with a piping bag. I mean, if you don't have a piping bag, then you could just as easily, I got my piping bag inside out. You could just as easily scoop and spread it along the sides. But I actually learned this from Stephanie Jaworski, The Joy of Baking. I watched her use a piping bag to pipe it onto the sides of the cake, and then spread it out. So that's what we're going to do here as soon as I flip my bag right side out. I'm sure many of you know this, but with piping bags, there is an inside and an outside to a piping bag. The inside is most generally smooth, and the outside has got texture to it to help you hold on to it. And I'm just going to use a regular old plain, you know, round tip. Don't need anything fancy for this. And then if you're not used to putting your icing in a piping bag, or you know, you're just starting out using a piping bag, you can put this down into a tall cup and it'll hold it for you. I've been practicing, and now I can hold it without needing a cup. And it does take practice. I can't tell you how many times I dropped the bag by not having it over my hand enough. It was really kind of embarrassing. But nobody saw me, so it's okay. And then we'll just squish this down to get the air out. There we are. Then we'll twist the end so it doesn't come back at us. And then you want to use one hand to squeeze with. This hand here, my left hand, and my right hand is just going to be the guide. And what I'll do is I'll go up and down on the sides like such, is a little more challenging because I'm on a plate with a rim, but I didn't see the sense in wasting a round that I would use to put this in a bag with in order to or to send this to a friend or a customer. Yeah, I'd use a flat round piece of wax cardboard, but since it's just for us here at the house and it's a scientific experiment, I just went ahead and put it on a regular plate. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and get this done real quick. We're almost there. Now, you'll notice like the icing's falling. It's because the icing is warm. Let's say that happens to you. We could always, because I just realized how warm it was, I'm a little beyond reproach with that, but you can always put it back in the fridge and let it sit in the fridge for about 10 minutes, and that'll harden it up. But you just take your offset spatula or your knife, after you get it wrapped around there like that, and just smooth it on there, just like such. Alright, we got it, sides all iced, and there we are. Now, if I were making this for someone, it wouldn't be on one of my plates. It'd be on a flat round like I just talked about, and I would take a scraper or a icing spreader, I guess what they call it in the baking world, but it's a scraper that can be plastic or metal, and I'd run it around the edges here and make that smooth. I would smooth this out, or we could pop it back in the fridge, which is what we're going to do, firm this up and do little wisps, you know, with our offset spatula or whatever, things like that. You can get tricky with it. But right now, I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it in the fridge so this icing hardens up a little bit. And then when we come back, we'll give her a try. All right, be right back. Okay, so we had that in the fridge for about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. Let that icing firm back up a little bit. So now it's time to cut a piece. Now remember, this is a recipe I've been working on and altering, so I mean, this truly is a test, so to speak. And yeah, I'm not going to just go, oh, well, this, recipe I found was good. I mean, I really want to look for, how's its crumb, how's its, moisture. Because the last one we made was a little dry. And I was looking to, that was really about the only problem with it was just a little dry. And so I was looking at some different ways to fix that. And one of them was the addition of the yogurt. And I can already tell you just by the feel of it, it's not dry. But here's how we came out. And it looks really good. And like I said, it held. It doesn't look dry. It's got a nice moist look to it. I already pulled the fork out, so I don't need to pull out another one. So let's set that down for a second, get you up here so you can see my smiling face. I don't know if that was really worth it, and I'm sorry if I devastated any of you. That's right. Hi. Abby says hi. But let's see what we got ourselves into. Okay. I think that yogurt really solved the problem. Cake is still warm though. I should probably, which is weird because it wasn't warm at all when I took it out of the pans. At least it didn't feel, or when I put it on plate tables onto the plate, it didn't feel warm on the outside. But it's still a little warm on the inside. That's all right. It'll finish cooling down, and it held. Yeah, it's definitely moist. You want a bite? There you go. It's good. I'm telling you. What'd you think? Did you like it? Yeah. Yeah. I think we solved the problem. Which means I can almost officially say I made my first cake recipe. That is spot on, man. Definitely. The yogurt was a definite bonus to this. Now, that being said, with the cream cheese, you will have to refrigerate this cake. I don't know exactly where I'm going to store it at in my refrigerator, because right now I've got a customer's cake in there, a customer's cheesecake in there, and then now I'm going to be putting this cake in there along with all my other groceries. So, but I'll figure it out. With that being said, give this recipe a try. I really think you'll like it. It's got a nice blueberry flavor, and as you can see, I'll show you the cake itself if you can see down in there. Remember how I said that people said it would bleed purple? It did not bleed purple at all. You know, I think it turned out really good. The balance of the blueberry and the cake and the lemon icing, perfect. And I figured it would be. Like I said, when I initially started down this road, I just got down to where it was a little dry. Adding the yogurt helped. So yogurt adds moisture. So I think we finally nailed it. But anyhow, I won't keep you. This video has been long enough. I love you. I love you very much. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. More than you will ever know. And I mean that honestly. Tell somebody else you love them and you love them very much. Try this blueberry cake with the lemon cream cheese icing. You'll make friends. Share it. Everybody in the neighborhood will be over it. They think you're a professional baker. And it'll give you something to start a conversation with. So until next week, when I have no idea what we're going to cook or bake or get into for that matter, I would like to do some canning next week, but we'll see. So until then, stay safe and I love you. Talk to you later. Bye.